Hello everybody, welcome to Sonic Talk episode 663, recording today, Wednesday the 7th of April 2021. This is the Music Technology Podcast. We talk about all things to do with music, new and old, O1W here on the left hand side, and also software, production, live things, all that kind of stuff, synthesizers, the whole works. And I want to say thank you very much to our friends over at YouTube, who we've got the chatties there, our IRCs, and Discord as well. We stream to Discord, not Discord, Twitch and Facebook and YouTube Live. Nice to see all you folks. Also wanted to just put a little bit of a plug in for our Patreon, which you can join. We had a really good bumper week this week, and I've been posting some more stuff. In fact, I've just done a thing on me recreating the Tom's Diner multi-track for the Song Exploder podcast, which I'll be posting in a couple of days. So if you're not already privy, then do join us, because on Patreon, that's which one is it? It's this one, isn't it? That's right. Patreon.com/Sonicstate will get you where you need to go. Anyway, just want to say thank you to everybody for joining us, as I always do, and I've probably said it already, so there we go. Let's say hello to some guests, because we've got, let's start with Mr. Jamie Lidell, who we haven't seen for ages. He got his fancy cam working, which is a treat.
Isn't it nice? So, I've got to join the boys' club of fancy cams. I mean, it's funny, isn't it? Just about when the vaccine's about to kick in,
you get your
we've all worked out the
yep.
streaming stuff. We're like, it finally works. Yeah, I mean, hey, it's very nice to be back, Nick, and thanks for having me. I'm here because usually on these days I have a sort of an engagement, but I just had my first Moderna shot, so if I start twitching a bit later in the show, it could be various reasons, but I'm going to blame it on the Moderna. If there is a twitch,
okay,
it's quite simply a vaccine reaction. Nothing to worry about.
Okay, well that's good to know. I'm very glad to hear that, Jamie. I'm sure. It's interesting though, that whole thing. I mean, for those people who've had it, or at least if that's what you're going for, it sort of releases of this base level of anxiety that perhaps you didn't know you had hanging around.
Maybe instead of twitching, maybe that will happen.
You'll just get free.
Maybe sort of involuntary celebration, some sort of annoying whoops. Woofs, whatever.
All of that stuff.
All of that, yeah.
Why ever not? Hello. And we've also, it's lovely to have you. It's lovely to have you, Jamie. Anyway,
on this side.
There we go. And a reel-to-reel there. More on that a little bit later. We've also got Mr. Yoad Nevo, who's there in Nevo Sound in London. Who's going for the wide angle. We get a very fulsome shot of your support pillar there. Is that acoustically challenging, or have you had it treated?
What do you see there? Oh, at the back.
Yeah, that big white thing that's sort of half in the middle of the floor. Maybe it's just appeared and you're not aware of it.
It'd be funny if he turns around and goes, "What?"
Wait,
never mind.
Okay. How are you, Yoad? You well? Busy?
Yeah, very well, very busy. Great things going on. Happy that, not happy about the weather. Because
terrible. It got cold suddenly. Now we can go out. Yeah. It's freezing.
Yeah, there were 2 days last week when you thought, okay, yeah, that is something, and then it went back. And that's my first winter, because I used to go to Tel Aviv once a month for a week to work, to do my Waves week, and to get a bit of. So that's actually the first whole entire winter that I've stayed in London, and in 23 years that I've lived here, and it's quite depressing, I have to say.
I guess. Anyway, that you'll gather, Yoad, as well as being an accomplished mixer, producer, and songwriter, and all those things, he's also a programmer or a product developer with Waves as well. But lovely to have you, Yoad. I'm glad you could make it.
Oh, it's good to be here.
I'm just trying to see if there's anything different on your centre section there. I can see there seems to be some sort of transport control next to. Was that new? Is that or is that? No, the other side by your other hand. What's that? Is that the? Oh, that's automation.
That's part of the console.
Oh, that's part of the console.
That's old. That's old kind of trigger things for the Nevo, which are not in use. But no, nothing is new except for I'm into guitars now. Forget about synth and all that. It's not really not my thing anymore.
What's happened to you? That's what happens if you don't get any sunlight, Yoad. You see, that's the problem.
Exactly.
Just revert to guitars. Anyway, lovely to have you. We've also got Mr. Charles Chicky Reeves, who's got a new camera angle where he's in front of his console as well. Everybody's got. Everybody's got consoles, and I've got an 01W. I mean, I'm feeling a little bit inadequate here, but.
And like
how are you, Charles?
I'm getting into guitars, so there you go.
Wow, that looks like
this.
a nice one.
It's a Squire because I wanted to try it out before I bought the Fender version. It's the Bass 6, so it's kind of like a baritone guitar, but and I've just been playing it on everything because I'm originally a bass player anyway. But yeah, so I've just been putting all these like really funky guitar tracks on things that just sound a little chunkier than a normal guitar would. And my normal guitar has like, I think 10s on them, so it's not particularly heavy strings anyway. So that's my newest acquisition. Oh, actually, nice. But I don't want to ruin your story about your 01W, but I am in the process right now of resurrecting my Kurzweil K2000 sampler, mostly because I like the synth in it, but I have all these old sound banks that are on a 100 megabyte. I know that's huge. It's hard to imagine. 100 megabyte hard drive.
Wow, and that still works?
So loud. It still works. Yeah, I've taken it out and I bought one of those. Well, you barely see it.
Like compact flash or an SD card adapter.
Well, it fits in place of the floppy, and it has a USB in and out on it, or a USB port on it, so I can just start storing, things. In a nice modern way. But the sounds on that, the synth sounds are so nice. I love that. And the effects, they're noisy, but gosh, they sound really beautiful. So I've been doing a lot of remixes that have a lean towards kind of that 80s vibe. So getting that out, making my JD800 work. I've been sort of in 80s dream pop.
Excavation. Yeah. Oh, right. Nice. Oh, well, that sounds good. I've just been... I've already said this. I can't even remember. I've said it so many times today because I did a Patreon video about this, excavating the 01. I needed an M1 piano actually, but I didn't have an M1 piano, so this is all I could use because I have to remake the multi-track for or fill in the bits that are missing on the Tom's Diner multi-track for a Song Exploder podcast. If I haven't already said that, I may have just been pre-show, so excuse me if I'm rambling and repeating myself. Maybe we should just crack on, and then we can get onto it. So let's start with an device. This is the Chiral holographic synth, Max for Live. It's it's quite a good video, this, because it doesn't go on, it just kind of gets on with it. Interesting sort of three-dimensional wave folding, and the sounds in it are quite different to most synth videos. Got MPE. And a rather interesting display. Celestial reverb. Obviously only works in live. I'm assuming it may only be in 11. I'm not sure. It doesn't say for sure. Let me see.
Well, MPE would be.
MPE, yeah, it would be.
11.
That's true. And here we go. I just want to do it because it's for a change. It can end.
There we go.
There is an ending. Usually I have to go. I won't play it all, but I will because that was quite short and it just suddenly stopped. Now, I know lots of people are into 11. In fact, Jamie, you were first to spot there that it must be for 11. Have you tried this thing? This looks pretty good, actually. Phase shaping oscillator, amplitude modulator, ADSR.
No.
It seems. I'm just trying to look what the actual heck it is. Where can you buy it? What's the?
I saw the. Robin Scanner, he posted something about it. That's the first time I heard about it until you suggested it as a talking point for today's episode. What was the episode number again? 663. First of all, amazing, Nick. 663. I mean, that's incredible, isn't it? What are you going to do for 666?
Yeah, I said. Well, I thought I might dress up in a sort of fancy dress, devil tail and horns. But perhaps I won't.
Little Nas X.
I'm not sure whether I will do that.
But I mean, hey, look, I like the idea of phase-based, trickery, and it's sort of like obviously, yeah, we'll get onto the tapes in a bit, but so much joy to be had with messing with your phase. So I don't quite know exactly how this stuff works. I'm sure some of you are more.
Well, I haven't had a chance to check it because I haven't.
Inner workings.
I haven't downloaded 11 yet. I haven't had time. It's actually only €25. 10% of sales go to non-profit, the charity stuff. I think it's Berlin-based guy. Charles, I know you're big on 11 because I remember you couldn't make the 11 episode where we were talking about 11, and you were gutted because you dig it. I'm guessing. Have you tried this?
I love it. Yeah, I haven't tried this, but I like the. So is this? I confess I don't really know much about this. When I listened to the video, I was like, oh, this sounds a lot like a modern CS80 kind of vibe.
There was a bit of that going on, yeah.
Yeah, but and also I like the fact that the video didn't go into just the usual techno sort of thing that a lot of those kind of videos go into. But is this phase distortion like the Casio stuff?
Well, it says it's phase. Let me see. What does it say? It says it's phase shaping, which is
phase shaping.
I don't know what phase shaping is exactly, but I should also point out it is available for 10 and 11. Although obviously the MPE stuff, you won't get the MPE stuff. Well, you can do it, but it's very complicated. I think how you can get it to work. You have to have multiple instances, I think, and it gets a bit messy. But it looks kind of fun.
I'm definitely going to buy it today. I'll get it today.
Right. Okay, there we go. We may have a live purchase on air, folks. Who knows?
Hell yeah.
Who knows? Yoad, I've not heard of phase shaping. It sounds like phase distortion / wave shaping kind of
sounds to me like they could mean phase modulation, which for those of you who watched our FM how does it work episode, we talk about it there. So it may be that. I don't want to say things that I've not checked, so I'm not going to comment. I have a license for live, but there's not enough hours in the day for me to get into Ableton Live 11 and all the great things that it incorporates. Because I just have to get on with stuff. And I'm quite happy with Logic, but that's. Yeah. And in the old days, I used to have different machines running different proprietary sort of software, like Creamware running on a Creamware Scope running on a PC, and there used to be a synth running on DOS that I used to love. I don't remember what it was called, but I had a dedicated computer. Not sure. No. It was kind of red interface. It was very much like a virus. It was amazing. It was a tracker, but I used to use the synth.
Okay.
And I had so I used to have like dedicated computers just for running stuff that are not compatible with my main platform. But I don't think I'm going to do it, because I like to be able to bounce stuff offline and bounce stems and things like that, and I don't want to have to save multiple parts of a project on different platforms and stuff. Those days are gone for me. I
think that's fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, as we know, switching DAWs requires a certain amount. I mean, there's at least these days there's a more common sort of GUI thread and language going through them, so it makes it a little bit easier. But
but there's so much in Ableton 11. I'm obviously aware of all the functions and stuff, but for me to really work on a DAW, I have to be really fluent at it. And my main platform is Logic. I feel as like at home, equally at home on Pro Tools. Cubase I used to up until 9.5 or something like that, but I haven't touched it for a couple of years. Every now and then I used to mix an album on or a few songs on Cubase just to keep. But I just don't have the time to do that anymore. So
yeah, I know what you mean. You've got efficiency and all of that. I understand that one.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think it's called Chiral, and you can get it from Force of FORS.FM.
I just bought it.
All right, there we go. So,
Just bought it, yeah.
good for you. There we go. We always like to see
I
a bit
like
of
that,
online
Charles.
purchasing. That's dedication, isn't it?
I like stuff like that. Yeah, it's my kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
oh, he's out of focus.
He's out of focus, but your
there-
reel to reel is in focus.
What's happening?
You need a
losing it,
kind of
guys.
like special.
The Moderna.
Oh, there it is. Oh, it's not you. It's not us. It's you.
For a
Oh.
minute there, I was losing it. No, I'm back.
Right.
I'm back. I'm fine.
Okay, so what else have we got? Let's have a look. Let's get on to why don't we look at well, we go in order, why not? So this was an email I got from a lady called Hazel Mills from Bristol, who I've come across before because she worked with Will Gregory and the Moog Ensemble and has been touring with Goldfrapp, and she did a cover of Ghosts, and this is actually a really good cover in conjunction with Harriet Riley, who's a percussionist, and that's that sort of bowed, I don't know what the hell that is, but it looks pretty and sounds
awesome,
astonishing.
that thing,
But she's also, if you can't see it, there's a full concert marimba about to come into play, which I think I'm probably going to get busted on the copyright. Let's go up here. Here we go. Ready? Just fantastic, and it was said in the
that's
comments.
awesome,
It was actually
isn't
said in the comments. You know what? That actually sounds better than the original to me. It's a better interpretation, and I think, well, in a way. David Silver's voice is very specifically kind of a sound, so it's quite nice to hear it in a different way. I know, Jamie, Ghosts was such a seminal thing. I mean, probably one of the earliest, perhaps moody and atmospheric sort of songs that wasn't a sort of novelty or pop. I mean, we are talking the 80s, but there weren't, it was very, very sort of dark and not
Definitely.
like your usual stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, fantastic. And what an amazing version. It's true. It's sort of, it pays close attention to the original, like sonically, but it kind of extends it. And, well, and the fact you can see them doing it is just, hats off. That's a serious bit of work, and they've done an amazing job. Yeah, that's wonderful. My neighbor across the way, Ji-Hei Chung, she's one of the world's best marimba players. She's been a competition marimba player in Korea since she was a young child, and she's absolutely phenomenal. So I get to see like concert marimbas. They've got several of them in their house, and
Wow.
I go over there and we just play on them. They're just so great to stand out and play, even if you can't really play. It's just like, whoa.
They're just
The
the
words.
physicality. Did
Listen
you
to
say
the
competition? Did you say competition marimba player? That sounds like a thing I'm unaware of. What does that entail? It's like how many notes
Yes,
you can.
exactly. Well,
Wow.
yeah, exactly.
How many sticks you can hold in each
It's a
hand?
good question, isn't it? Yeah. And what kind of award do you get? I mean, is it a sort of like, do you get a tine? Get a golden tine?
Win
I'm
another
not sure. I'll have
marimba.
to ask her.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's sort of like just one of these things, pitting children against each other to see who can win and who can lose brutally and feel like worthless. Stuff.
I can imagine the sticks across the back of the fingers. Would definitely be a thing in maybe
absolutely.
learning marimba in an authoritarian state. It could possibly be like that. I am totally imagining that, but I'm just in my head. But,
And that's what the song's all about. Just when they thought they were about to win, the ghosts came along and sort of wrapped them on the back of the hands with brutal marimba sticks.
yeah, wow.
And I did have a quick
luckily
aside
they
for Charles.
cloth
When
on
you're
the
talking
end.
about chunky funk, can you give me any other examples of chunky funk? Because I like that idea, but I'm not quite sure where I might find other examples.
Over to you, Charles.
Good. I don't know. I mean, I guess one of the reasons I like it is because I haven't really heard anything else like it, and I'm playing things I would normally play on guitar. My guitar playing is more rhythmic oriented because I'm just not I'm a bass player, but it just makes these really meaty. It's hard. Gosh, it's really hard. Meaty is the best way to describe it. You know, like, well, the thing that
Yeah.
inspired me to get that was the Beach Boys, all the layered bass stuff, and I worked with a band from Mexico City one time. I remember they said, "Oh yeah, let's record the bajo sexto," and I was like, "What's a bajo sexto?" And they brought out this thing that said bass 6 on it, and I was like, "I've never." This was years ago. I'd never seen anything like it. I thought it was just the most amazing sounding thing ever, and so. So I got one of these.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So
you just got me with that. I just like the idea of a.
I can send you something.
Now I know
I'll
it's
send
a
you something
meaty
I've done.
funk.
Send you something I've done recently to show you exactly what I was able to get out of it.
Yeah,
back to the topic.
Sorry.
Sorry, there, Nick.
No, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I think Hazel was using. I think she's got a P6. I think she told me actually. I've got it here. What does she say she was using? Blah, blah,
Whatever
blah.
it is, it sounds lovely.
It does sound lovely.
Yeah.
It does.
And her voice is really cool, and it's it's all live, which is great, and it has a great flow
Very
and
impressive.
great sound balance. It's all, and the way she doubles the marimba, so the combination of the kind of synthy and the marimba sound. Yeah, sounds great. And it's nice to hear a real marimba because it's been used so much. That sound has been used so much.
Yeah. They're very hard to
with
record.
sampling.
God, I imagine the transients are a nightmare, aren't
They're
they?
really hard to record. I've been trying to record the one across the way. I've sort of opted on this Sanken CUX 100K, the one that goes up to 100 kilohertz. And I'm sort of trying to experiment with that. I've tried Sheps. I've tried like clipping DPA lavalier mics to the sides of her glasses to give her like a kind of binaural, like poor man's binaural, which actually works quite well. But yeah, hard instrument to record. So yeah, another factor.
Yeah.
Maybe
That's why you should use a
great
DX7 there.
marimba
See,
libraries.
see, that's that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or whatever Tears for Fears used on their song, because it sounds that's kind of the sound that ding 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 ding. That's whatever it was, S900 or whatever they've used,
Fairlight,
or maybe
maybe?
it's even earlier. Maybe it's a Synclavier or something, or Fairlight.
Fairlight, I would think, because I think that would probably be what's his name? Oh gosh. Ian Stanley. Ian Stanley was an early Fairlight owner back in the day, I think. And
Yeah, so it must have been that, because the sound most of the sounds we all associate with marimba are the sampled ones, or the FM.
Yeah,
ones.
it's true.
The
It's true.
The FM ones are a bit
true.
naff, but the sampled ones, especially when you go low and you get the aliasing and all that, it kind of sounds chunky. And they're hard
totally.
to record. I mean, the way to record them is the kind of orchestral way, where
it's a long way
the
off.
mics are. If you try to get a mic anywhere near it, it's just not happening. The transient, and being a kind of a wooden transient, it's quite long. So with shorter transients, you can get away with it sometimes, because you get the kind of clipping, but the sound will be clipped, but it's so short that it adds kind of excitement, or it's like an exciter on the transient, which is short, but with that, the transient is actually quite long, so you can hear the sound being clipped and generates high
Defines
harmonics.
the sound. And
here we go. Fun fact here. Individual 2 in the chat room says Zappa's text used to Mike Ruth Underwood's marimba like a drum kit for the gigs, because obviously the Zappa time around Inca Roads, Ruth Underwood would play that live. And in fact, we probably see, I would imagine, fairly
that's cool.
fairly non-sensitive dynamic mics would probably be the way to go.
You can do it with a dynamic mic.
Go for clipping. If you go for folding.
Right.
I think if you use like tape, you notice like the Mellotron has a pretty all right, they have great vibes. The marimba is harder. The marimba's not as good. There's a lot of distortion, and I think in a way kind of makes sense, like what you're saying, a long transient, you just fold it back in, just go for it, I've been enjoying like a piece, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the brand Spectrasonics.
Yeah,
the console that was used to record Loud Green and all that.
Oh.
I've just been in contact with them, and they sent me a lot of stuff. And one of the units they have, the old 610 compressor, is like famous for an ultra fast attack time. It's really good at that kind of folding, or getting those catching those transits way faster than any other compressor. So I'm going to try that.
Okay.
But that's only mono. I need
Interesting.
two.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway.
Or more. Right. Okay. Well, I think that was. I just wanted to put that in. In fact, I think we should probably just have a quick word from our friends over at.
Isotope Producers Club is a one-of-a-kind membership for producers ready to take their tracks to the next level. Once you join, you'll gain access to powerhouse Isotope plugins and a curated selection of tools from our partners, such as Melodyne from Celemony. Plus, as long as you're a member, you'll get every future update to the Isotope plugins in your membership for no extra cost. We'll also regularly serve you new curated content like exclusive inspiration-sparking sample packs and preset packs, and industry-leading training ranging from our own tutorials to vocal production lessons from the world-renowned Berklee Online, taught by Grammy-winning producer and engineer Prince Charles Alexander. With new content being added every month full of valuable production techniques, tips and tricks, and solutions to common production problems, becoming a member is an investment in your career that grows as you and your career do. For more information on Isotope Producers Club, head to isotope.com.
And of course, there's the music production suite, and there's also the version of Producer Club Pro. It depends which one you want, whether you want the full RX experience. But don't forget, if you really want, you can also join. I think would this button work? Yes, there we go. If you go to isotope.com/sonictalk, you can save 10% on other Isotope products, not subscriptions, when you check out, use the code SONIC10. Anyway, let's see. Oh, yeah, it was April Fool's, wasn't it? Did anyone get snaffled by April Fool's? It feels a bit weird. I put this topic in and I thought, well, I actually can't think of any because I've sort of stopped taking notice because everything feels like an April Fool's at the moment. It just doesn't feel like anything's funny, It's like how extreme it is. Some things that you think are April Fool's just aren't. They're actually true. You just think, oh, God, So I wonder if it's over. But I think, I haven't seen any. Anyone see? Hands up. Anyone saw a good one, and then if not, we can move on. Oh, okay. All right, Charles, you could go then. You get to take the stage.
Yeah. So this, just because there's a living with a writer, I get exposed to these sorts of things. There's a site called Reedsy. So this doesn't have anything to do with music, but it kind of does in a way. Reedsy had a thing. They sent you a link to a new piece of software that they had developed, which is you put your name in this thing, and you pick the genre type, and you pick whether it's going to have a twist ending or a more pedestrian sort of ending or whatever, and it'll AI generate a book for you. And it's like,
choose your own adventure.
Get ready for stardom because this book. All you have to do is just put your name basically on it, and it'll generate the book for you. And they got a lot of people that were. That were trying to do. It's the same. I'm sure there were analogs of that in, no pun intended, analogs of that in the music industry, that someone put up like an April Fool's AI generated song that you can claim as your own.
Well, I mean, we're not far from that, I suppose. So yeah, it's a bit too close to the truth, isn't it? That's the thing, I guess. So that's the thing. Anyway, anybody else go for one before we move on? Yeah. I don't want to. Yoad.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So on the 1st of April, like for some reason, I woke up really early, like at 6 in the morning, and I wrote an email to the whole Waves, group, which is like 300 people or something, or 350 or something like that. And I said, basically to the owners, congratulating the owners on the successful acquisition of Isotope. And I said this will have a very positive impact on the entire industry, and I congratulate you, or something like that. And then I just waited.
Wow.
Well, that's risky.
And the emails started pouring in. That was really funny.
Wow. Funny for everybody else, or funny for you? Yeah, that could have been fun. Okay.
It was funny for me, but eventually I think that it was quite enjoyable.
And of course, if you do that, then you'd be getting Native Instruments now, because haven't they kind of created a sort of they haven't merged, but they've created a sort of sub company or a project where that.
Yeah, but that's why it didn't seem kind of
unlikely,
too far-fetched,
Right.
No, it's a
Again,
good one.
element of truth. Oh, well, you little
You've got to go for that with
scamp.
fiction.
You scamp.
Fiction's all about that. If you don't believe it at all, there's no.
Yeah,
Don't
that's
buy
true.
into the fiction.
Okay, well
That's
let's get on to. This was pretty cool. This is one of the new. This is really to illustrate the Korg MS20, new MS20, full size MS20 in. They're in a blue, black, white, and. Well, it looks just like dirt. Is that brown? I can't tell actually.
Hello, everybody. Natalie here for Patch of the Week, and I'm going to show
It's
you.
Natalie Charmy.
Camo.
Yeah, what's that? That's it there. I can't. There's white, there's blue, there's black, and is that sort of duck green? I'm not quite sure. Maybe that is. $30.99 US. Quite expensive considering they themselves make an MS20 that you can buy for considerably less than that. And obviously, we've got the elephant in the room. Not to mention Behringer.
Not to mention Behringer.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. I mean, it does. I don't know, the MS20, for a long time, the MS20 just had this, and I did not know that Flat Beats was made on the MS20, and that did sound thunderous, I must say. I do like, Tori said she's got an MS20 Mini, and she said it rocks. That's Tori. Yeah. I don't know, what, have you got an MS20? Is it part of your...
I do, yeah.
You do?
I've had it. MS10 was my first analog.
Me too.
synth.
Me too.
Yeah, I think it sounds a bit better than the MS20. The MS10's a little bit more of a robust oscillator. The MS20, obviously, it's the filters, isn't it? It's a cool synth. I used to take it on stage a lot, run my voice through it, and that's a good rush. I'm actually on a Square Pusher track called Shin Triad on Music Has Ride One Note, and he was playing drums. I was just singing through the MS20, and fond memories. But yeah, no, it's good. I don't crack. What's nice about it, it's got quite a good act. Hopefully they preserve the action on the filter. It's all about the looseness of that pot, because you can really you can talk with it. There's not many, in some sense, the pot just doesn't let you talk.
Right.
It's got a very talky filter, so you can really do the thing with it. It's meat funk with a finger. It's a finger. You can actually. There's potential meat funk. I'm not saying there will always be meat funk, but as you can hear with Flat Beat, he definitely got some.
It did. It's beautiful sounding, but it did sound. And of course, lots of things. But I know Alison Goldfrapp sang through the MS20 for Lovely Head as well, which is visceral. Because it's breaking and it's just
an awesome effect.
It's a really good effect, yeah.
It's good. It's really good. It tracks well. I had a little guy make me a weird MS20. Took him ages. I mean, I just used to not like carrying the MS20 on stage. They did do a little standalone guitar box that had the pitch tracker in it, but I just didn't like it as much. But MS20, it will always be fondly remembered. It's a little bit, I guess now, for me, it's sort of lost its favour, but it's just because I'm not that drawn to the aggro sound.
It's quite aggressive. That's true. I used to use the MS20 a lot, but it's just to pinch out those lovely harmonics, and it was. Have you got one of those, Yoad? I can't see one back there.
I've got an MS10, and mine. The sound is great. I think you can awesome. Just about. Yeah, it's just above the.
It just
the
has
minimum.
A low pass though, the 10, right?
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
doesn't have a high pass. That high pass is really nice on the MS20.
And the thing is that my one is there's something wrong with the pitch, so you can only tune it to a semitone below everything else, and I don't want to send it for repairs and stuff. And that's one of the great things about Logic is that you have the environment. So I can manipulate the MIDI, so only the MIDI that goes to the MS10 is +1.
It works.
So which makes it makes it fun again. But it's a lovely kind of angry little synth.
Absolutely.
I have to say I'm not quite. I don't know. It seems so pricey. It looks nice in white, I have to say.
Yeah, it did look nice, that.
But I don't know.
It does seem expensive. I know what you're saying.
I would personally get the Behringer. It probably sounds. I never did I never compared them, back to back. But but I'm sure it sounds similar enough for like $200 or something, or whatever it costs.
Yeah. Maybe so.
Yeah, I don't know.
Difficult
It seems
Well,
quite, or even a Korg, an MS20 Mini.
Yeah.
For that
well,
matter.
I tell you, the one that I really thought that they should go, the MS20 desktop was particularly good because they tackled some of these issues. So you can access the PWM, you got ring mod, you got different. There are a few things in it that made it just sort of like really become much more fluent. I've got an original MS20 back there. You can't see it, but it's all sort of beaten up. I know, Charles. I'm imagining have you got one there? I can't remember if you have or not. Yeah, it's one of those ones. Yeah,
I do, but it hasn't functioned since I first came to this country and realized how different the voltage is.
Oh no!
So, actually, it wasn't me. It was someone else. Honestly, it was someone else. But I haven't gotten around to getting it. I haven't gotten around to fixing it. But the nice thing I did is I took all the like raw waveforms I could, and I transferred them onto tape. And I have years ago, and I still have that tape, and I've sampled it. I've got all these Ableton setups with all just the raw waveforms.
Nice.
And yes, it is about the filters in that, but it just sounds fantastic, and using the Ableton sampler.
Nothing quite like it.
I never used to use I never used the MS20 for bass, but that beat that Natalie Shami gets out of it, I mean, it's like really like wow,
that's what I use it for.
Beefy as hell. Yeah,
You know, the key to the
That's what I use
MS1
it for.
keys,
Absolutely.
Sorry.
The resonance on the high pass is the key because you
Oh,
can
yeah.
really dial in
Kicks.
huge subs.
Huge
And
subs.
like, you know, that's the thing. It's a super power. I mean, if you use it just for like, if you multi-track, I've done a bunch of stuff just multi-tracking drums. It's got a really nice forceful noise as well. I'm always on the lookout for the best noise generators. The best one I ever heard was the MS50, but the MS20 is good too. But I love a really solid noise source. It's got that too. It's good. It's a powerful machine.
Oh,
It's got the force.
got the force.
Is it good for chunky funk?
Chunky funk? It could well be.
It
Anyway, the
definitely
MS20,
is.
the MS20 FS model is available now. US map $13.99. So you're going to want one. I mean, I guess blue or white. I think would be kind of. I think I could. Well, I would. I just wouldn't spend that much money on one. I've got one anyway. I mean, I haven't checked to see if it works recently, but I hope it does. Anyway, this is probably a good time to just have a mention of our friend over at Modal. If you remember, I reviewed the Cobalt 8. Actually sounds a really nice, lovely looking synthesizer. It's got an 8-voice extended virtual analog synth with 34 innovative oscillator algorithms, morphable 4-pole ladder filter, 29 endless encoders for real-time control, internal sequencer arpeggiator, MPE support as well, Modal app, Windows, Mac, iOS, Android, and VST-AU. And in fact, if you want to find out more, just head over to bit.ly/get_modal and they will be happy to give you more information. But sadly, that one had to go back, and I did enjoy programming that. I came up with a lovely sound at the beginning of it that just made me think, oh my God, this is amazing. Spoke to me a little bit more than the Argon 8. Anyway, okay.
I would like to have one. That's one. That's
Cobalt.
one of the synth the hardware synths I would like to have when I grow up.
When you grow up. Okay, so I think we'll get on to Jamie's tape experiments, because this was, not the reason you're on, but it's the reason we started communicating this week. This was the modifications that, Jamie, you've had with your Otari.
Might be familiar with this machine. Scott Campbell modifies Marantz cassette recorders to allow CV control, which is amazing. And I thought to myself, what would happen if you had a reel-to-reel, a 4-track, quarter-inch, that you could have the same control over? And the good folks at Love Magnet Electronics in LA made those exact modifications to this Atari behind me, the 5050, and it's awesome. To the tape machine clock.
Thanks.
There's some great stuff that you're doing there. So this sounds like you've been having a whole heap of fun. I mean, CV control and being able to scale it, and then obviously portamento between the things. I mean, it just sounds like... have you got any work done?
Great. That is the work. I
Well, I
mean,
suppose
it's
that's
funny
true,
how people are like, I remember a comment like, Jamie, I wish I had as much time to piss about as you do. Meanwhile, the guy was a sound designer, and I was like, it's weird because I've made loads of tracks out of this, and like it's the whole point of it was to make music. You know what I mean? And it's exactly what it's allowing me to do: make sounds I've never been able to make before. And yeah, it's a funny thing. I mean, for a lot of reasons, I'm drawn to it. They see the little Nagra next to it, and I've loved looping with that. And obviously, that's a 1/4 inch. That's a mono tape, so the fidelity is significantly
supposed to be the best,
higher than the Atari.
Yeah.
It's awesome, but the Atari is a nice charm too, and it's a real workhorse. And I wouldn't have done this modification on a lot of reels, but the Atari has a strong motor, and I think it can take it. What's really crazy? Recently I've recorded a piano, right? Put the piano back on tape, and then rewound, put the piano back through, but a CV to LFO, so you create like a pretty strong vibrato on the second pass of the piano. Then you line them up in the computer, and you've got the vibrato piano against the original. I've never been able to get a sound like that in the box. It's impossible. I challenge anyone to get that sound any other way. It can't be done. I mean, I've tried a lot of shit. I mean, pardon me, but I've tried an awful lot of, and this is giving me sound, and you can CV flange. You can, on my last podcast, I did a thing where I very slowly modified the pitch of this machine in a robotic way that will be, you can't do with your hand. You can't flange in that way. So it's lots of things, and obviously, like you said, I've got it scaled, so it's MIDI controllable. So if I want to go from a C to a G, I just play it with the keyboard, and I can control how long it takes to get there with the portmanteau. And you can play and record all during the time it's making that transition. And and if you're droning, then obviously that morphs and it tries to stay in tune, and it's just it's endless beauty. It's just incredible for so much different music. The most challenging part of it is doing sound on sound in a rhythmic way is hard, because it won't let you listen to the track you've recorded as if it was, if you're doing traditional 4-track recording, obviously you can sort of play in time with it, as it were. But once you're doing sound on sound, and this machine's modified with like each track has a sound on sound option. So you can turn the erase head off per track, so you can turn different tracks on and off. Anyway, it's a lot of fun. Check the YouTube out if you haven't checked it. It's I've really put a lot of time and energy into it, partly because I'm trying to get a bit more like Raymond Scott. Like, I will forget how to do this. Like, I printed on a little 5-second loop a rhythmic track of pulses that is used to control the modular downstream, because it becomes an actual clock. And then once it's in control of the clock, when you change the vary speed on the tape machine, everything is in time. So you can then like really sequence and do sound on sound with the machine in ways that you could never do any other way. So it's been a crazy run to just, but mind you, now it's not set up for that, for example. So if I do want to put that rhythmic reel on, I have to put it on, throw it through the gate, clean up the signal, get the level right into the envelope follower. And it's a little bit of a palaver, but it's worth it. It's been awesome. I love it.
I think probably what you need is some kind of like antennae that you can affix to it that would scale so that you can actually create the length of the loop, and you just put that in rather than go, well, where's the thing? I've got to wrap it round. And how do you, and storing tape loops and stuff would be kind of,
I've got them stored on the back of a sort of a light stand. I've got like a C stand, and I just chuck it over the back of that. But yeah, I've trampled on them and stuff already. It's gone. But you do have to sort of measured like 75 inches, so you get like 5 seconds, and it's amazing. It came out like 4.98 seconds or something in the video, and that was really what it came out to. So it's not that hard, really. I just love the process. I just feel like in this day and age with computers, I want to work for my sound. And have a sound that is truly mine.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Like, true, yeah.
So like, I think that's the thing. It's just been really inspiring. You can get it lots of different ways. It's not that this is an exclusive thing. Like I said, the Scott Campbell CV mods on the cassettes are fantastic. I never thought to quantize it to scale. It took me a long time to quantize how to use the circle on or whatever. It was hard, but now it's really fixed, and the quantization is fixed and stays in tune. So it's been really good.
Awesome. Oh, wow. So Charles, did I see? Have you? Oh, you have got a reel-to-reel there. I've seen it. With
I do. Yeah.
Okay, tempted. What's yours? You haven't got an Atari.
I'm stunned. I want to. Well, I've recently gotten into editing cassettes because I got I bought this thing. Which one is this? The Porta Studio 414 Mark II. So I've been making tape loops on that. which I love. But I haven't gotten brave enough to start doing reel-to-reel tape loops. But I kind of want to use my. So I have a MS16, the Tascam MS16 machine.
Oh wow!
And I want to start
making. Half inch?
It's a 1 inch. It's a 1 inch machine.
Wow, 1 inch.
So,
man, that's nice.
Yeah. It's all balanced in and out on it and stuff like that, and it works great. Track 1 and 16 are a little bit iffy, but you've got 14 very solid tracks in there, and I will start making loops out of that. I would love, because I bought an editing block for it, but good God, it's just like I don't know. I was working on an album many years ago, and the artist who's well-known guitarist whose name I won't really mention, but he is quite obsessive about, let's use this bar from this particular take on this 24 track, and then let's use this before much Pro Tool stuff. So we were editing on taking 24 track tapes and just doing edits, and it just sounded like a train going. Yeah, it sounded like a train going over tracks every time I played the tape. It's like, it's constant stuff, and every time I made a cut, I just had like a slight anxiety attack, which I would just bury down deep inside, so no one had to see it. But to this day, I still get the same sort of anxiety whenever I'm about to even cut a cassette. I'm like, oh, if I get it wrong, I see people online doing it with it, like, just cut with a pair of scissors, use regular tape. It's fine.
Yeah, you don't have to be that worried about it, man.
No,
I don't know. Yeah, sure. The splices can be. I mean, I've got a tape on there that has had a dodgy splice, but I quite like a dodgy splice. It gives you. Then the feedback stops. Like I know on Space Echo, you get like a problem with you just got to embrace the joy of it.
Embrace the joy.
I mean, I suppose
of it,
if you're trying to get a very very high fidelity result, then you might want to be a bit more anal about it, and which you can be anal, and then you just and it gets pretty. You can do pretty amazing splices if you work on it. But yeah, I mean,
wash your hands. Well, that's good for this. So I remember back in the day, there used to be this thing, because I remember I did some mixes with this guy, JJ Allam, who was worked out at Metropolis a lot, and he was one of the things that he would do is, as part of you do your mix, but he'd print it to Ampex, and then he was also a really skilled tape editor, so you could try out your edits. So part of the kind of mix engineer's remit used to be kind of the editing side of things as well. I mean, did you ever have to have to deal with that as well?
Yeah, I used to do that, where at the end of the mix, I would solo the drums, record 16 bars of that, then put the bass in, record 16 bars of that, go and edit it there and then add some more stuff. So that was like a 12-inch sort of. That was the way to do it, because if you had the 3.5 minute song and you want it to be 6 minutes, that was the way to do it. You just create the balance you want on like the arrangement basically, and you could like use auxiliaries to send stuff to delays and stuff like that, but then you had to edit it there and then, because an hour later it would mean nothing. You would end up with bits of tape, which so you had to do it it's a linear process. You record the 8 bars of drums, mark it with the channel, then record, add another element, splice that in.
The idea that it's the idea of tape being about commitment, isn't it? I mean, I think that's the thing that's just so scary to some people and so appealing to others. It's like you have to commit. Like you're talking about, you hit record on that tape. Maybe you're recording over. You hear stories about David Bowie doing Heroes or whatever. They had to, if he wanted to punch in a line, they recorded over his lead. They just were like, "All right, David. I mean, obviously you're David Bowie, one of the greatest of all time. Just go for it, man. And we're just going to punch you in over that take." And then at the end of the day, you've got your song. It's not like, do we have to edit between comps? There's none of that. The track is done. You hear those stories of Prince, Susan Rogers. They got the stuff on the track. Prince, they finished the song every day because they had the stuff on the tape. They pulled up the faders. They did the mix. They were done. Yeah. That is appealing. I got to say, not that this is anything to do with that, but I like that just sort of nowadays
it's interesting.
we've got a lot of parachutes and we've got a lot of safety nets.
Yeah,
just maybe not making for the best stuff.
Yeah,
I remember we used to. I worked in. I started in a studio where there were 3 studios, and in Studio B there was no automation. So before the mix, we used to clean the toms track, because the gate, usually you can't just set and forget. So we used to, with the counter, looking at the counter and obviously listening to the track and trying to memorize the fields, you would have a feel and just start erasing, and just before the next tom field, you will punch out. So the gate would work, man. and I accidentally deleted a floor tom, and we had to re-record that, just the floor tom, to basically overdub it on. You had a lot of stuff like that, but it was fun.
Yeah, well, it's terrible. I remember because William Orbit used to, because I was talking to him about, because he was recording in Bath for a while. Not mates or anything, but he was working in the studio where I was hanging around for a bit, and he said what they used to do is he would record all these kind of different arrangements and different combinations of things down to stereo pairs on his multi. So in the end, because he'd be running loads of stuff live, he would just record all of those. And so the remix would be him just kind of like muting between entire sections that were just running concurrently. So it would be like, okay, this is the verse that's running all the time, or whatever, this breakdown here, and then this one here. And you just turn that one on, and then, so he would just, it would be a question of performing the remix as a series
Don't forget about
mutes.
King Tubby. Don't forget King Tubby and just all of that. The joy of having. I think they used to use like a Scully tape machine just for the echo. So it's like you can just use, or you can use your machine, like these machines. You can just use them as a crazy. Sound on sound echo. I mean, it's so cool, tape. I really advise people to get a little tape machine just to muck about on, because it's really integrates really well, I think, into the digital workflow, because you just get out of that headspace and you can sort of get a sound color that's quite hard to achieve in the box. You can get it, but it's much more fun to do it yourself. And I don't know, and you can get these, unfortunately, with maybe this pandemic craziness or the reverb effect or something, stuff is really expensive. Tape machines are crazy money these days, but maybe you can find a bargain still.
Yeah, well, tape itself is pretty expensive. It
is. There's good company there. Recording the Masters is the tape I'd recommend to people who are interested. The 911 tape. It's good tape. People say there's no good tape anymore, but that's good tape.
Right.
Yeah,
so,
that's what both my machines are set up for 911, because it's great
good stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
what's it?
Don't worry about that.
Is it 910, the other stuff they make? What is the other stuff they make? Yeah, they make another one that's a little bit squishier sounding, but the 911 has good transient stuff on it.
It's interesting, isn't it? We're talking about the kind of formulation of the oxide paste. It's bizarre. Yeah. I mean, because I've just been through this.
They used to use whale, didn't they? They used to use whale in tape. That's why some of the old formulations were sort of banned. There was some sort of whale oil. But anyway, I think to remember reading about that. It's like, it doesn't sound as good as the whale tape.
Wow.
And that's
possibly
if you
true.
If you wanted to make copies of tape, it was better to record it, to put one backwards and record it in reverse, because then the transients would kind of
that's so cool.
build up.
That's awesome. It's like half-speed mastering kind of style. Do a half-speed as well.
So it would record it better. You would have a better transient response, and then you reverse it. Not to mention the reversed reverb. You had to, if you wanted to do like vt, vt, vt on the toms, you had to.
Of course, you want to do that.
That was quite scary, because if you had like tracks 13 and 14, your toms were on those, then you reverse the tape so they would come up on 11 and 12, and then you set up a reverb on those, and you had to. So basically, I used to make a track on the track sheet. I would write the numbers in reverse like so one starting at 24. So you know where you recorded. That was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun.
Challenging.
Flipping tape over was always a lot of fun.
Stuff. Yeah, I used to have a 3M M24.
Damn, that's a heavy
track
machine, man.
And
Jeez, that's
yeah, it was a full on. It was because we used to spend so much money and time and effort going to get transfers done on 2-inch tape that I ended up, I don't know what, I mean, I had room for it and we just got it in. Honestly, it was the weight of a large washing machine, at least, you know, big, with a big lump of concrete in it. But the thing I remember most was having to mess around with the tones, because to get a proper tape, a tone tape, which went, 100, 1 and then 10 right up, they were really calibration tapes were really expensive, so I used to borrow one every once in a while and calibrate, and the rest of the time it would and that little thing, and you just kind of, I was so easy just to, God, blimey.
Oh my God, yeah.
Anyway, we're feeling it's very, very reminiscent kind of period of time of tape. But you've started us all off, Jamie, and maybe we've inspired some more people.
It's a different thing. It's a different thing. This is more using it as an effects unit, more in a radiophonic workshop, more mindset of I'm a concretin, so any excuse to sort of get my my concrete on, I'll do it.
Yes, very.
Yeah. I'm thinking, as you said about that big machine, I'm thinking of getting my old Telefunken M15A that's still in Belgium. Like, I'm thinking of actually biting the bullet and shipping it over to America, because tape machines are so expensive and you can't find an M15 anymore. So I'm just like, I have, Love Magnet will repair it. I'll get it working. It will cost me a bunch to ship it, but it's cheaper than buying a machine. Like, I'd love to get like a decent multi-track, but I just want a high-end 1-inch to sort of print. I got 1-inch 8-track. It's an amazing machine. Like I used it once for a Super Collider song, but man, it just blew the computer out of the water so bad. Me and Chris were just like silent, like, what have we been recording on this whole time?
Yeah.
This thing is like another league. What are we doing? We just work with toys.
We used to
I track live bands on my machine because of that. It just sounds so much better than tracking it directly into the computer.
It's just horrible when you look at it now. But anyway, whatever. We can't go back. We love convenience.
Yeah, well, that's true.
And it's also wasteful and all that. It's a nightmare, and they're big clunky old things. But you've got to keep techs in business. It's important to keep the techs like versed in these machines, because sometimes techs can't fix a black box. Get something wrong with your Avid controller, you might just chuck it in the bin. At least these things, like these machines have lasted since the 60s, and they're still rocking. They're still mechanical. I mean, I love all that.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. Well, interesting chat. Thank you very much for bringing that up, and thanks for that video, Jamie. I mean, we will. We should probably wrap things up, I suppose. It feels like we've got to that time. It's 5 o'clock. I was going to say it's Friday and it's time to crack a jack, but it's not. It's only just 5 o'clock and it's a Wednesday. But there we go. That's a very, very UK-specific joke that I think only Jamie might have got, actually. Because
I was happy about that. So, it's probably it's the Moderna kicking in.
Yeah, there we go. Jamie, lovely to have you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks,
don't forget, of course, you can
check
out Jamie, JamieLidellMusic.com, where Hanging Out with Audiophiles podcast. You got some more episodes of that coming up?
Appreciate it, Nick. Oh, yeah. I'm always chipping away. There's a few on the brew. Next one's going to be with Boys Noise, and we had a nice in-depth chat about his modular. So those who want to know more, it's very specific. But that's the nature of the show. I'll interview some people and it's very general, maybe very philosophical, and sometimes very technical. But it's my show.
So there we go. Exactly.
But thank you very much for the plug. Yeah.
That's all right. I want to plug a video. I did an interview with a guy called Federico Vidvar, who is a really sort of top draw production, working in that sort of LA scene with Timbaland and
man.
Kanye. Did 10 tracks on the Kanye album. I mean, he's like. And he's been a viewer of Sonicstate for years and years, which is great, because when we did that, it's that thing, it's all cooked up via PR, and when you get the person in front of you, you don't know whether they're just going to go, who, what? Oh, I'm sorry, I thought it was to do. But he was like, no, I really dig it. But I'm surprised it's had so little traction, because it's full of really interesting nuggets. I was going to talk about it on the show as a podcasty bit, but just the thing, there's one particular nugget which was fascinating, which is Rick Rubin's rule of 4, which means you could only have 4 instruments or sounds at any one time, which is why a lot of this kind of modern R&B is very, very minimal, but each one has to be bang on. But do check that out, the Federico Vinvar interview. Anyway, I was saying goodbye to people.
Cool, man.
And also Mr.
you.
Yoad Nevo there in London, thank you very much for joining us. I'm glad you were able to take
My
time
pleasure.
out. Doing a lot of production at the moment, or a lot of wavesing? What's your main focus?
A lot of mixing. I have to put 2 songs I'm producing at the moment on the go. A lot of wave stuff. It's very exciting. It's quite diverse, and I'm playing my guitars as well and trying to refine. I got a new Carvin amp, which is really nice, and trying to refine my tones and stuff.
Yeah, excellent. Well, I'm glad to hear it. It's always good to have a bit of time for playing, but thank you very much. And of course, Mr. Charles Chicky Reeves, who is, you said you've been doing a lot of teaching of mixing as well, which is that live stuff or studio stuff or what's?
Teaching studio and live streaming mixing, and I'm doing that, and I'm on 3 different future funk remix things I'm doing right now, and some game music, doing a bit of game music, but most of my time for all of the Easter holiday has been focused on remixing, and then I've got some classes that start up again next week. I teach for London Metropolitan University. I teach live mixing and live streaming mixing and studio mixing.
Excellent.
So
that sounds like a great course.
Yeah.
In fact, I mean, everybody's doing it. In fact, my mum, who's an artist, I talked her into getting I bought her a cheap webcam, and now she's doing Zoom art classes and is actually getting paid for it. It's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean, so everybody's doing it.
Really
anyway, folks, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much, everybody. Oh, Yoad's full.
Lost Yoad.
He's gone. It's just
amazing.
gone off in a puff of smoke. No, here he comes.
There he is.
Anyway,
Action
yay.
shots.
Thank you,
Love
everybody. That was Sonic Talk episode 663. We will be bringing you some more next week and next time. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you all in the next time around. Okay, that's it for this week. See you later. Bye-bye now.